Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Carolis, Dean of Drexel University's Charles D. Close School of Entrepreneurship. And thank you for tuning in and welcome to Starters Review, our program that explores the stories of starters, these entrepreneurs who start something over and over again, and they tell us about their unique experiences. Today I'm here with Nicole Marquis, restaurateur and founder of HipCityVeg, a fast casual food chain that is 100% plant-based. Her story is truly one of passion, of her desire to bring vegan living and lifestyle to the mainstream, which actually coincides with her desire to advance the protection of the environment and also animal rights. Her story is so inspirational. She is just the epitome of a starter. She keeps starting over and over again with multiple locations of HipCityVeg here in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., and also other themed restaurants such as Bar Bon Bon and Charlie Was a Sinner. So Nicole, welcome to Starters Review. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor.
My pleasure, our pleasure. So Nicole, as I learned about you, what I think is just quite amazing about this business is that the restaurant business is very competitive, particularly here in Philadelphia. And so within a very short period of time, you have started so many restaurants. So share with us, what is your secret for success? What keeps you doing this? How do you keep these very unique restaurants thriving?
It's a great question. I always say that being an entrepreneur is a state of mind. And every day when growing a business, you're faced with challenges, problems that you have to solve. And so being grateful for what you are doing and being positive, having a positive attitude, for me is a recipe for success. Because when faced with adversity and the everyday challenges of starting again and again, like you mentioned, it really comes to, for me, having a positive mental state. And that can-do attitude really changes worlds.
Exactly. I love that you say it's a habit of mind.
Yeah.
Being a starter is a habit of mind. And so you say that you're grateful and this positive attitude. And we'll talk about this a little later, but I think the whole vegan lifestyle and living a healthy lifestyle sort of enhances and motivates that positive attitude, right? So it's actually
Totally.
Right.
Absolutely. I think when you are living a healthy lifestyle and all parts, healthy lifestyle for me is not just physical in the absence of disease, but it's also emotional and ethical and in many ways. And so when you live a healthy lifestyle and it's all the parts match, you feel good and you have more energy. And that is definitely good for business. Because in business, you have to have the energy and you need to feel good. Because if you're leading something, and I might be going on a tangent here, but when you're leading, no one else is going to have that state of mind and have that long-term vision.
Absolutely.
And it trickles down.
Right. And that was my next question, because you as the leader, as the starter, you need to set the tone and the culture for this business, right? Yeah. So if you're not positive and energetic, then that will certainly trickle down to all of the employees.
Oh yeah, and I've seen it happen firsthand in the restaurants, or in the office. If I come in and I have a sort of defeated, negative attitude, the amazing staff that I work with, all of a sudden they're seeing things kind of the same way. And so it's an incredible amount of responsibility that I'm just realizing more now, 4 years into it, that I really do have a responsibility to keep my eye on the big picture and remain in a positive state of mind.
So when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, you said something that really piqued my interest, because I asked you, how do you, and again, it's a short period of time, you're opening restaurants, different themes, different locations, and I said to you, how do you sort of manage all of this? How do you do this day to day? And you said to me something that I thought was extremely profound, and you just said it here. You said, I keep my eye on the big picture.
Yes. I have to remind myself of that. But that is really what I do. I wake up in the morning and I remind myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so that's why I think social entrepreneurism is so important, because when you're working towards a greater good, there is an incredible energy behind you, because it's not just, although entrepreneurism, whether it's because you want to create a small business for yourself and you're really interested in one specific thing, or if you have a bigger picture in mind, either way it's good, but there's something about working towards a greater good that drives you.
That keeps you going.
Keeps you going through the inevitable challenges and defeats and failures that you're going to come across every day.
Right.
You know.
Right. And so I do have to say this. You said something, you talk about social entrepreneurship, and that's something that is on everyone's mind today, is how do we do well for ourselves by doing good for the rest of the world. And you had said to me that one of the things that drives you is you think about, how can I change the world? Now that's such a significant statement, right? And so is there anything in your upbringing, your background, that has primed you to think that way? Because not everybody thinks that way, getting up and thinking, how do I change the world? Particularly when you're running 4, 5, 6 restaurants. It's not the first thing that would be on your mind, right? Right.
First thing on your mind would be, is the electric working? Is
right.
Did everyone show up for work? No, it's a great question. I was always encouraged by my parents to be interested in something and to find a passion, to self-actualize, if you will, and to be really good at anything that I wanted to do, to really try hard. My parents aren't risk takers, so that came, I think my idea of the world and how I approach the world really helped me with taking risks, but they definitely encouraged me always to be very interested in the world that I live in, and find something that was important to me.
Right. Well, you certainly have.
Thank you.
You certainly have. So you were telling me that your dad had some health issues, and you were determined to try and help him with these issues. So could you tell us that story and how that fits in with the whole HipCityVeg vision and passion?
Yeah, absolutely. My father, he was in his 50s. I just moved home from grad school, and I was really influenced by so many books I'd been reading about nutrition, and I became vegan. And so I moved back home with my parents. My dad's in his 50s, overweight, taking all sorts of medication. And I had been away at school for a while, and I'm like, wow, what's happening?
Right.
He's taking medication for blood pressure, for diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And he sort of all around felt sluggish. And I gave him these books. I said, just try it for 3 weeks. Let me make you a green smoothie. Actually, this very smoothie the Groovy, yes. By Get Real, Get Raw, which is an awesome nonprofit I can tell you a little bit about. But
Sure.
So I made him this smoothie. I was working with Get Real, Get Raw, the nonprofit, at the time, and bought him a blender. He drank it and he was hooked. Read a couple of books, Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Furman, Mad Cowboy by Howard Lyman, and a few others. And in a couple months, 2 months of adopting a plant-based diet, he lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
He got off his blood pressure medication and completely put his type 2 diabetes into remission.
I have to ask, what did the doctor say about this?
Exactly. The doctor said, well, just keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because, medicine plays a great role in many illnesses. When you can take medication and cure something, amazing. But it's pretty astonishing how little nutrition education is given to medical professionals. So, it was never suggested to my father, who, by the way, is a nurse practitioner, the smartest guy I know in the medical industry. And
the link between nutrition and...
There's a disconnect between nutrition, like you were just going to say, between nutrition and medicine. So it was really kind of a miracle. Everything I'd been reading
was manifested.
Yes. And that just put my passion into overdrive.
Right. So you mentioned the Gruthi, which I love. They're absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And so I want to talk a little bit about your educational background, which is not restaurant or hospitality management, right? Because I come from university. It's communications and theater.
That's right.
Right. So tell me about that transition. And in particular, I'm really interested, because this will be interesting for our students and for young people. What are the things that you learned in communications and theater that may have helped with your founding and growing the restaurant business, right?
I love that question because I use so much from my communications and theater background and apply it to restaurants. In many ways, operating a restaurant is like directing a show, like a Broadway show.
What a great metaphor.
Yeah, you have the lights, the sound, the actors, the audience, front of house, back of house, on stage, off stage. So we all have our scripts.
It's a production.
It really is a production. And I enjoy, there's a thrill in managing many parts.
Yes.
And seeing something build and, be realized. I love that. So and also I don't really mention all the time, but studying theater and studying classical ballet, I did for about 12 years. There's an incredible amount of etiquette and professionalism that is taught in those areas of interest. So, arriving on time, not chewing gum in front of the ballet teacher, learning discipline, which I rejected and rebelled against,
of course,
my entire childhood.
Right.
But that I brought it with me, and there is a level of discipline that I believe you need to start a business
and to run the business, right? So it's like being an athlete, a musician.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain rules of composition that must be followed.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's so great. I love that point because sometimes I feel like I'm an athlete training.
Yes.
Athletes, they have to eat certain things. They have to have a certain state of mind, wake up at a certain time, train a certain amount of hours in the day. So I love that. I didn't put that together.
And how cool is this? Because what you're doing in terms of being so positive and being training has a lot to do with HipCityVeg and your other restaurants and healthy living, right? It's the whole package, as you say.
That's right.
That's right. So I'm going to ask a question that I ask all of my starters that I interview. Can you share with us a professional devastating moment when you thought, Oh my goodness, this is really, really bad. And then how you overcame that.
I don't know if I've faced something devastating yet. Knock on wood.
Right.
But it happens. I know that. I've faced really disappointing moments.
Okay.
Whether any, missed opportunities or losing my cool, or not knowing how to manage people. There's some disappointing moments that I had to sort of learn on the fly and overcome. So I'm grateful that yet there's nothing devastating. I say yet because this is a risky business. I mean, business is risky.
Right.
So, but again, I'm just continuing to focus on the big picture and the goal.
Right. Right.
And learn and try not to make the same mistakes again and again.
So I think it's interesting because maybe some of the things that you talked about, some people would think is devastating, but your positive attitude and energy sort of minimize them to disappointing. And that's probably maybe what helped you to get through, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah. Maybe that's
it.
That's right. Thank you for that.
Final question. What advice would you give to the so many people out there, no matter what their age, who want to take this risk and start something? Because clearly you started something, taking vegan mainstream when it's not really that popular, and look at the success you've had. So, a 10-second piece of advice, what advice would you give people that have this passion that you have that want to start something?
The advice I would give someone wanting to start a business would be to plan. I am a huge advocate for writing a business plan. A lot of entrepreneurs do it off the cuff, and that's amazing. And they have an idea and their drive, and they just go with it.
Right.
I think it's important to, when you write something down, you take it out of your mind and you put it on paper, it becomes real. And then you realize, I don't want to call my restaurant the Veggie Queen.
Right.
Which is what I first was going to call it. I'm so glad that I wrote it down on a piece of paper.
Right.
And it was like, that doesn't work for me. Becomes real. And then, I need to have, the moment I realized I need 100,000 forks in the restaurant to get through the next 2 months. Well, it seems so minute, but okay, so I need this much money. It becomes the reality of a viable business
jumps out at you when you see it in black and white.
Yeah, and there are great ideas. I hear great ideas all the time. And I think of ideas, but the reason why they don't come to fruition is because there's so much work in between having the idea and realizing it.
So you need the discipline to do that, which I think harkens back to your background and your training in the theater, right?
Full circle.
Full circle. It's full circle. Nicole, thank you. And we're going to end with a toast with our groothies.
Salute.
Here's to healthy living. Salute. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.